Hey there, course 1, lesson 89 takes us through estimating square roots. Maybe what you would remember about square roots and this thing, this check mark looking thing called a radical sign, is telling me that this amount is not worth 400. It's worth whatever times itself once equals 400. So square root of 400 is actually, what is this number? All right. So a number multiplied by itself, this is the answer to the square root of 400. We know it's going to be bigger than 10 because 10 times 10 is only 100. And we could think of it as, well, square root of 4, 4 times 100 would be 400. Well, square root of 4 was 2. Square root of 100 is 10. So multiply those square roots together and you get 20, and then we check it on our calculator, and 20 times 20 indeed is 400. Is a way you could get there. That's maybe a little quicker than guess and check, but guess and check would maybe work too on your calculator. On paper would be a huge pain. Calculators are nice for this. 625, now we can use that. We know that 400 was 20. Well, this is bigger than 400. So if we try 30, we go a little bit too high. That's going to be 900. So 30 isn't it? Somewhere between 20 and 30. What about 25? We check it on our calculator and find, yep. So the answer to square root of 625 is 25. Now we're going to practice estimating square roots that are not perfect squares, like the ones we had coming out even here. And so these ones might not be as big of numbers. It doesn't look as scary. Square root of 20 doesn't look scary. But what's scary about it is that doesn't come out even. If I type in my calculator, radical sign, 20, it's not going to come out anything. It's going to be like a decimal number. It's going to be like, I don't know, 4.4 something. I don't know. So the way we can do this, we think of perfect squares that we've learned now that would be on either side of 20. So 4 times 4 is 16. So square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 was 5. So our answer to what is the square root of 20 is going to be between 4 and 5. Does that make sense? Between square root of 16 and 25 is the square root of 20. Since square root of 16 is 4 and this one is 5, it's going to be between those. Maybe it's 4.5. If we try that, it comes to 20, but not quite. If you try 4.4, it's a little less than 20. So we just keep trying. 4.4 was too small, 4.5 was too big, but it was a little bit closer than 4.4 was. You keep doing this to find maybe what fraction could equal exactly, but you're not going to get one perfect because square root of 20 is what we call an irrational number, where there is no pattern to it. The decimal does not end for us, so you would never actually finish that one. Which isn't a great one to introduce this concept about. But wavy equal sign means kind of, about 4.5. So if it said we could go to a tenth, then we would realize 4 was too small. It needed to be bigger than 4, but it needed to be less than 5. So we found that the next closest was 4.5. You can use a decimal to approximate. If you type in this symbol and then 20 for 20, or actually the other way around would work, it'll show something like this. So we round the 4 based on what the 7 says, right? So on your lesson practice, you got ABC square roots. D through I are not going to be perfect squares. So you just have to tell us which two consecutive whole numbers is it between. For example, square root of 15 is going to be between 3 and 4 because 3 squared is 9 and 4 squared is 16. So those two perfect squares tell me, because perfect squares tell me where all the actual counting numbers are, it's going to be between 3 and 4. So use the perfect squares for these to help you find what the whole numbers would be above and below. And then use the calculator the way we learned in the last example. So let's do G, K, and B. How about that?